The first half of the play-in stage is over, and despite some surprises, it has mostly gone according to expectations. But the surprises that have happened were something to watch. Let's see where the 8 teams currently stand. Good teams take care of business, and PSG Talon are a good team. The only blemishes were some early nerves against R7 in their first game, and Loud being more resilient than they expected in Game 1 of that series. And even then, they ended up taking both games back and annihilating their opponents in Game 2. While Wako and Moody's laning hasn't been the most impressive, they clean things up in team fights. Ozzy's having a surprisingly nice run on carries, and Maple is showing just why he's still kicking in the scene after so many years. A wrench in the plan has formed, as they very well could end up playing BDS for the best of 5. But if they keep this up in their current form, I'm not so sure they don't send the LEC packing. PSG have a lot of good going. Let's see if they can finish the job. Team Wales are here to prove one thing and one thing only. The best of ones are terrible, and no self-respecting tournament or region should use them. The Team Wales in Game 1s and the Team Wales in the rest of their series might as well be entirely different teams. A series that started out about as poorly as it possibly could have, as Sparta was abused by Adam, quickly turned into the upset of the tournament, and they continued their magic in their next match against the Flying Oysters. Against all odds, Team Wales are only one best of 5 win away from making the Swiss stage, and much of that can be traced back to their AD carry Artemis. He has not only lived up to the hype, he is surpassing it, going combined 25, 2, and 34 when Team Wales had their backs against the wall. The VCS finally has some hope again, and it came from a most unexpected source. Loud are currently undergoing what has become their usual routine at an international event. They'll start off by dazzling you with their natural talent. Against GAM, Loud looked like something special, showing off how they can dominate in Game 1 as Root picked up the first pentakill of the tournament on Day 1, as well as how they can come back from a deficit as Robo brought Game 2 back thanks to some heroics on Cassante. Then the hype comes in. Perhaps Loud can upend the supposedly set-in-stone play hierarchy. This team looks really good. Maybe they'll make it to the main stage. And then, when it comes time to prove their mettle against the best of the best, then comes the frustration. PSG were beatable. Loud did show off some excellent team fighting when they were behind, but they just couldn't put it together. A winnable game slipped away from them, and they looked all but dead in Game 2. I have not been impressed with Rock this tournament. He had an absolute horror show in both Games 1 and 2, and he didn't even look that good against GAM. I'd still pick them as favorites to get out of Group A, but I don't know if they can finish the job in best of 5s. The Flying Oysters took care of business against DFM as everyone expected. DFM looked up their match, LC had fun on Blitzcrank, domination good times all around, and it looked to be more of the same against Team Wales. After Game 1, the dream of 2 PCS teams in Swiss stage looked to be a reality. But then things went south in the second and third game. It wasn't a choke or because any play in particular being bad, it was just because Team Wales had been way better than anyone could have expected. And now CFO are in a weird spot. If things go according to expectations, they'll be playing BDS in order to get a rematch with PSG Talon. And while I wouldn't necessarily favor them in either series, both of them are winnable. Not the worst spot they could be in, but not the best either. BDS's opening series was a perfect microcosm of Team BDS in spring versus Team BDS in summer. Game 1 was an absolute slaughter, courtesy of the face of the team Adam. His Darius was left open, and he made them pay for that mistake. He utterly dominated Sparta in Game 1, and the entirety of Team Wales suffered for it. Team BDS continued to build momentum as their opponents never even had a chance to play the game. And then the second and third games happened. Without a 5-kill cushion in the top lane, Team BDS had to actually play a normal game of League of Legends, and they just couldn't pull through. They had no answers for Artemis' Kaisa. Their objective play was incredibly lacking in the mid and late game. Nuke regressed back to summer. What was expected to be a series where BDS could go into cruise control suddenly turned into the first 3-game series of the tournament. And when it mattered most, BDS didn't even show up to Game 3. A top laner he had only dominated an hour ago now put the golden boy of BDS in the dirt as Team Wales ganged up on him. Brownie looked consistently outmatched by Artemis. Despite everything indicated in an easy win beforehand, the LEC 4 seed became the first team this year to drop both a game and a series to a minor region team. And now panic is setting. How does this team win games if Adam isn't massively far ahead? Why was their objective control so sloppy? I'm still expecting them to make it out of Group B, but the momentum from the WQS has been thrown out the window, which begs the question, how terrible were Golden Guardians to make this team look like a juggernaut? After watching Team Wales do the seemingly impossible and contrasting it with the second match of Day 1, I'm left with another question. How on earth did GAM win the VCS? Team Wales is out here throwing hands with major regions in the PCS, while the perennial champions somehow look to have gotten worse from last MSI. Slater and Pallet were really disappointing. I wasn't expecting them to be a lead or anything, but I also wasn't expecting them to get solo killed so many times. Most of the issues that plagued Gam at MSI are still here. Gotti still looks overmatched, they can't play through Kiaya even when he gets an early lead, and Levi can only do so much on this Sin. In hindsight, the only reason I was so lenient on Gam was because they used to be good. As their VCS brethren are outshining them in every conceivable way, I think it's officially time to revoke that benefit of the doubt. Yeah, that was about what was expected. A team from the weakest major region threw out a top laner who was retired for 2 years against a team that was better than anything DFM has played in their home region this year. It went about as poorly as you would think it would. Epiman might have been horribly outmatched, but who I'm more concerned about is Steel. He's been a part of every DFM International event. He has played all of 2023 and has been playing for a very long time. So why after all these years are there still times where he just goes on autopilot? He ended up doing less damage than Chelsea's Nautilus in Game 1, and Gemini and the rest of CFO write him like a book in Game 2. I wouldn't be surprised if he spent more time on enemy vision than off it. The only bright spot for DFM was Arya, who looked like he could carry a game if everything wasn't collapsing around him. And if only the rest of DFM could step up to his level, they might actually have a chance. But it's looking like a first-round exit for the LJL Juggernaut. That opening matchup was both better than expected and also a little bit disappointing. There were times when it looked like R7 had a legitimate shot at winning Game 1. PSG came out sloppy, took some bad fights, made some poor decisions. The game was R7's for the taking. But when push came to shove, they just couldn't get it done. And Game 2 was a complete rout. I can't fault them too much, it was PSG Talon they were playing, but R7 did themselves no favors by making some very questionable decisions. Seriously, why are we throwing all of our damage and CC onto the full tank Maokai? I wanted to see R7 take the momentum they had from MSI and build on it, but so far it's been a little bit lacking. Audi in particular had a nightmare of the series. On a carry champion, he couldn't carry and PSG popped his Diego like a water balloon every time he went in. On an engaged champion, he was practically invisible. It's never a good sign when Sejuani is 0-0-0 at the 26-minute mark. Perhaps they can repeat by taking a game in the lower bracket, but they are not getting past Loud if they play like this. Thank you for watching. This has been Ed Warded, signing off.